Hey, this is Mike from the Run Testers. This is the Saucony Hurricane 25, the follow-up to a stability shoe that it's fair to say we were pretty big fans of and definitely was a bit of a surprise hit with the team. Now, in this video, we're going to give you some initial multi-tester thoughts from the team on the Hurricane 25. First, we'll get into what's new from the 24, get into those initial running thoughts, and then let you know what we think of the Saucony Hurricane 25 so far. So let's run you through those key Saucony Hurricane 25 details, and let's start with price. And while we don't have an official UK price just yet, we do know it will cost $170 in the US, making it more expensive than the Hurricane 24. While the drop and stack height stay the same as the 24, the overall weight has changed, now dropping lighter on the scales in our UK men's size 8. The upper is an engineered mesh one, sitting on top of a Power Run PB and Power Run dual density midsole. Saucony still uses its centre path technology, raising the midsole sidewalls, adding foam on the medial side for those that land with more pressure on the medial side, and a rocker design all set on a wide platform to make it a more stability focused shoe. The outsole is an XT900 rubber one that's been redesigned to add flexibility and boost durability and the life you'll get out of this shoe.
So when it comes to fit of the Saucony Hurricane 25, I've got my normal size here, which is a UK 9. That's a US 10 for Saucony, and it does fit me very well. Got a nice amount of room around the toes, but not too much space, and good hold around the heel and midfoot. There's a lot of padding around the back of the shoe, and it's fairly warm at times today on the run for me, because it is quite hot here in the UK at the moment, but it's not too bad. It still breathes pretty well, especially around the forefoot, and it is a comfortable hold around the heel that isn't irritating at all. So yeah, all around the fit was fine for me in my normal size. That's what I would stick to with the Hurricane 25.
So fit's looking good for me so far in the Hurricane 25. I've got mine in a UK size 8. That's the same size I had the 24 in. That is my usual running shoe size. That's also the shoe size that generally works best for me in Saucony shoes. And I would say it's a very similar experience to the 24. It's quite a naturally big, kind of broad shoe. I've got it in the regular size option. I've got skinny, narrow feet, so that is ample room. And I wouldn't feel like I'd need to go any wider than the regular version. Very kind of open up in that kind of forefoot and toe box area, ample room there. Definitely feels like it kind of still continues that kind of more broad feel in the midfoot of this shoe, and you know, even at the kind of around the heel area as well. There is a change in terms of the kind of laces, kind of these spongier ones, obviously a little bit more kind of comfort on the top of your foot. The padding in the tongues feels very similar as well, similar level of padding in the heel collar as well. I'm trying to work out the heel cut maybe is a touch kind of shorter here compared to 24, but maybe it's roughly the same. I think the only thing I would take away is that you maybe lose a little bit of that kind of relaxed kind of feel of the upper on the 24. Maybe you're getting a little bit more structure in this one here, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I quite like the relaxed feel of the 24's upper, but I think in general, from a sizing point of view, absolutely true to size again. And I think if you've got skinny, narrow feet like me, go for the regular version. I think if you need something wider and more accommodating, then there are options to look at in this shoe range.
The fit for me in the Hurricane 25, very comfortable shoe. I'm a size 8 in the UK. This is a size 8. There's plenty of space before my big toe. The upper, I know there's been some slight tweaks to the upper design. It does feel like very similar to the original version. I think it's probably slightly more forgiving, a little bit more space in the forefoot, but not that you'd massively notice. For somebody with average width feet like me, it's got loads of space in it. It feels really, really comfortable, really plushly padded. It's a shoe designed for comfort. It's designed to fit very nicely on the feet, and you also get a nice lockdown fit in it as well. And I think this is probably a shoe that is quite popular with people walking around as well, because it's just a shoe built for that sort of plush level of comfort. So definitely stick to your size in this shoe. I put it in a list of the most comfortable shoes out there. It's pretty much spot on.
I got out for my first run in the Saucony Hurricane 25 early on today. It was a fairly gentle recovery run for me the day after a session and the day before a race, and that's exactly what I think the shoe excels at, really. It is a shoe that's built for those easy miles than anything else, and it does deliver a very nice, comfortable, protective experience. Like, I was just out there ticking along, not really looking too much at pace, and you do get a fairly smooth ride from this shoe, despite the fact, it is a big shoe. It does tick over fairly smoothly, I think, and there is a little bit of response from the Power Run PB core you have in the midsole there there if you do move a bit faster, as I did towards the end of the run. So the Hurricane 24 was one of the more pleasant surprises for me last year when I was testing shoes, just because I looked at it as a big, wide, stable cushion cruiser, fairly heavy, not the kind of shoe that tends to be my cup of tea, but it very much was my cup of tea. I really did like cruising along in it. Like, I'm not a stability runner, I'm a neutral runner, but I did enjoy the support from the Hurricane 24 because all the elements that are there to provide stability aren't intrusive. Things like the sidewalls of foam, that frame of foam, the wide base, they all deliver support in a comfortable way, and it just moved better than you expected for a big shoe. And that's, I think, probably a little bit more true even the Hurricane 25, because it is just a little bit lighter, but you still got all the same key elements in it with that Power Run PB core and the frame of foam and the gentle rocker on it. So while it's not one that delivers like a lightning fast transition from heel to toe and really pushes you on your way, you do get a nice smooth roll through, get a little bit of bounce from the foam. It's just a shoe that is easy to take the miles long in, feels lighter than it is, and you do get a lot of ground contact from that wide base, but it doesn't really affect the ride too negatively, I think. It's a shoe that I found easy to get in sync with today, and I always found very easy to get in sync with the Hurricane 24, which I do think is pretty similar all round. So yeah, definitely be one that I'm looking forward to doing some more long miles in, more easy runs in, do a bit more testing around its possibility for speed, which I don't think is going to be a strong suit, but do think the Hurricane 25 can deliver in the same way the Hurricane 24 did based on that early test today, which is lots of comfort protection, but not in a way that makes it feel too clunky on the.
So I've just been out for a 5k in the Hurricane 25. It's like 28 degrees here at the moment. I couldn't manage any more than 5k in it, but that was a fairly comfortable run for me. It was around 4:50 to 5 minute per kilometre, which is a nice comfortable run for me. And it was really, really enjoyable. I was a massive fan of the previous Hurricane. It's just a very smooth, comfortable, enjoyable cushion shoe. It's nice and stable as well. I think the thing that I noticed about as soon as you put the shoe on, it's got a lovely smooth rolling action to it, which just feels really, really nice when you're running at a nice consistent pace. It just pops you forward nice and comfortably. It feels really good. And I think the main reason for that, as well as the geometry of the shoe, is this really big wide base on it. I like shoes with big wide bases on it. It's why I like the More Range so much. It just feels like you hit the ground and you're just nestled in the right position and you just roll into it really, really comfortably. I know it does have stability elements in. We talked about this with the previous version quite a bit, but the big plus point of the Hurricane range is that even though it is a stability shoe or has stability elements in it, you don't really notice that. I don't need stability shoes. I'm told sometimes by getting artists that I should look at stability shoes, but I don't tend to wear them very often. The Hurricane feels to me, the 25 and the 24 feel to me like it doesn't feel like a stability shoe or conventional stability shoe. It feels like max stack cushion shoe. But when you need that stability, you can feel it. If you start to move your feet either side, you can really feel that stability kick in. So it's a really nicely developed shoe that it gives people stability when they need it and doesn't necessarily become overwhelming with stability if you don't need it. The difference in this shoe, I've only done one run in it, so I think it's probably going to take a while for me to really get a full understanding of the shoe. But it does feel a little bit lighter on the feet, and I think it's a little bit more bounce in it as well in comparison to the previous version. Not a lot, but I definitely felt it as soon as I put it on. It felt like I got a little bit of energy back from it. So really enjoyed it for that first run. I don't think it's a massive deviation from the previous version, which is a good thing. We love that shoe so much that we didn't want to have a massive deviation from that. But there are a number of tweaks within the shoe that I think have just ironed out a few things which I didn't have an issue with originally, but definitely things like the lightness on the feet and stuff is very welcome, because the previous version, even though it was a great shoe, it's quite a big shoe, and any saving in weight is obviously a positive for a shoe like this. But overall, really solid first run in the shoe. Really looking forward to using it more. I think it's going to become a very prominent part of my running rotation for quite a while. So yeah, very good first run.
So my first run in the Saucony Hurricane 25 was a 10k run, a pretty relaxed going 10k run. We're experiencing a heat wave in the UK at the moment. I think I went out and it was kind of 28 degrees, so it was definitely a hot one, and no real cause to go hard and fast, and that's not really what I would associate with the Hurricane. Now, I really liked the Hurricane 24. Wasn't expecting it to be a shoe to land with me, and I'd really like it as much as I did. Definitely a bit of a surprise. Definitely a nice cruiser, the cushion daily trainer shoe. Obviously a stability focused shoe, but I think like we're seeing with the Now, a trend of stability shoes in general from other brands, those stability focused elements don't mean it's a shoe that neutral runners like myself can get on with. And that's what I found with the 24. Now with the 25, the kind of key changes, well, there's a lot that's the same, but I think there's things that have been tweaked. So one positive, it's got lighter, which I do think makes it a little bit more sprightly, and that's what I found in my first run. Stability elements, obviously you've still got this kind of broad shoe, you've got those raised kind of midsole sidewalls, you've got slightly more raised in the kind of medial areas on both sides of the shoes. So if you land on those areas, you're going to get some extra support there. As I said, a bit like the Hurricane 24, I found like it offered a similar experience. There's some nice kind of bounce there. I think that Power Run PB kind of delivers on that front, and you've got that Power Run frame to kind of temper things. As I say, it's quite wide and broad, so you're getting a quite stable base as well, so it's not too wild. And if you're looking for a shoe to kind of cruise in again, get some nice bounce in, still feel like you're enjoying being out there, but also feeling like it's quite controlled. There's a kind of nice rocker there as well in the kind of designs, kind of really kind of roll you through very nicely. Those are the kind of, you know, qualities that I've seen here in the Hurricane 25. All the things that I kind of liked on the 24, which I think has just been slightly kind of tweaked, but not too much to kind of really build on the good stuff that we saw on the 24. Outsole wise, you know, it's pretty thick in terms of that rubber coverage, not everywhere, but in those key areas, forefoot, at the heel as well. And as I said, you know, you've got quite a broad kind of, design here, particularly that forefoot area. So a lot of rubber there. You know, I was running in very hot conditions. I won't be able to really get a sense of what it's, you know, that grip really is like until we're running and it starts to rain again in the UK. But right now feels pretty good. I think it helps to kind of stabilize the ride in this shoe as well. So not only I think going to give you a good level of grip and durability, but also it's going to contribute to that overall stability kind of focused element of this shoe. So definitely a good first run in the Hurricane 25. Feels like there's a lot of the similar qualities that we saw with the 24, which I think is a good thing. And yeah, it's a shoe, I think, compared to some other Saucony cushioned daily trainer options, I am probably going to be looking forward to running a little bit more in this shoe over those shoes.
Obviously, very initial verdict here on the Hurricane 25. Lots more testing to do, but yeah, enjoyed my first run in it today. For the kind of run that I will be doing more of in this shoe, which is those recovery miles, those easy miles, I think it is a nice shoe for soaking up the impact of running. See how it feels when you pick up the pace a little bit. I did do some slightly fast stuff in the Hurricane 24 and was surprised actually by how it felt. This year, it's going to be a bit more competitive with the Hurricane and the Triumph. I think I didn't really like the Triumph 23, but the first run in the Triumph 24 was pretty pleasant all round, and it feels probably a bit nimbler and more responsive, and maybe a bit softer as well than the Hurricane, I would say, based on the first runs in each shoe. We'll do some more comparative testing down the line, but so far the Hurricane 25 feels even more focused on cushioning and protection than the Triumph, and less worried about any kind of versatility, but we'll see how that is on the run. And yeah, did enjoy it today. Like I say, a nice smooth ride, rolls through well. Can kind of forget you're wearing it to quite a big extent, which just isn't often the case, I think, with lots of these really big, wide stable shoes. It is a shoe that does disappear on the foot more than you might expect for such a big shoe. Not so much when it's this all black colourway, which I don't like. It's school shoes. I know lots of people like black shoes, and they have lots of functions to have all black shoes if you're going to wear them outside of running, but an all black running shoe doesn't sit right with me. So I have noticed it more in a negative way because of that. But the actual ride feel of the shoe is very subtle and unnoticeable, and just, you know, helps you roll along very nicely with lots of support and comfort. So yeah, enjoyable first outing. Look forward to getting out in it again. There are definitely better colourways available.
So some initial thoughts on the Saucony Hurricane 25, and I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. There's always that concern when you find a shoe that you really like, a new version comes out, there are some changes, whether that kind of takes away from the good experience or the really nice experience. I don't think that's the case here with Hurricane 25. I think the changes do make it still a very good kind of polished, kind of cushioned daily trainer option. I like the fact that it's gone lighter, and that's, you know, generally that's always a good thing to see a shoe go a little bit lighter. I think the kind of refinements to the stability kind of features in this shoe don't take away from the experience, the good experience we got on the 24, and I do think still kind of offers that good experience from that point of view if you need that extra kind of level of support. I think when I look at it up against other kind of stability focused shoes, which I think sit in the same category, deliver those stability kind of qualities in a similar way, the Asics Gel Kayano range in general is one I kind of think about. I've always struggled to get on with that shoe. I've always found myself kind of more comfortable in the Gel Nimbus, in the more neutral shoe. I've felt like with the Hurricane, it is a shoe that I can go out and run in and feel like I get a good experience. And I'm kind of still feeling that the Hurricane is going to be, if I have to pick a stability focused shoe, this is probably the one I'm still going to lean towards. I think you look at the other cushioned daily trainer options in Saucony's range, the obvious one is the Triumph, and we've just started testing the Triumph 23. That's felt like a pretty solid shoe, but I think a little bit like my feelings about the Hurricane 24 and the Triumph 22, I'm feeling like if I had to pick between the two right now, I'm feeling like I would be gravitating towards the Hurricane 25. So yeah, overall a very good first run experience in the 25. Feels like it's building on nicely from the previous shoe, and I think a lot of people that liked the previous Hurricane are probably going to like what they're seeing here in the Hurricane 25.
So my early verdict on the Hurricane 25, pretty much a nice tweaked progression of the previous version, which I thought was pretty much perfect for what it was trying to do anyway. So I'm glad that there's not been any major changes to this. I'm glad that they haven't revamped all the foams and everything. So it's just a very, very nice, welcoming, unsurprising progression of the Hurricane 24, which is essentially a really solid, comfortable daily workhorse shoe, and a shoe that you could use for longer distance training as well. I think that stability is a really interesting thing to have if you are training for longer distances at a comfortable pace. It's not a versatile shoe by any stretch of the imagination, but if you're going out, say you're training for a marathon and you're doing a lot of longer runs at a nice comfortable pace, the stability is quite a nice thing to have, because when you get to those later stages of a long run, you're doing 30k or something and your legs are getting tired, that stability starts to kick in and you start to get a nice bit of added benefit from that. So yeah, really solid first run, and thumbs up from me with the slight tweaks that have been made to it so far. And I think it's very much still one of the best shoes out there for comfort and cushioning and a little bit of stability.
There you go, some initial thoughts on the Saucony Hurricane 25. Obviously plenty more testing to do before we get to a multi-tester review. In the meantime, if you've got any questions about the new Hurricane that we haven't covered in this initial video, do let us know. As always, like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about our latest videos, and yeah, we'll see you for the next Run Testers video.